welcome back. It's Shelby, and today we are trying out a candle craft that I saw on Pinterest. I will link the website that it went to down below so you guys can see where I got the idea from, but basically it's making crayon candles. So I have crayons, and I feel relatively safe doing this because crayons are non-toxic, so it should be fine. I also have a candle making kit. You guys probably have seen me use this. It's still not dead. I've been making a couple different candles from it or using parts of it in my candle pouring crafts if I'm not doing exclusively candle making, if I'm doing like something else. But I will link this down below in the description along with my socials like always. It comes with these little votive makers. So basically I am making a crayon votive candle today. We're gonna see how it turns out. This glass is a little bit foggy rather than clear, so the true colors aren't exactly gonna come out. But this is more a test than a how-to, so I'm thinking that's gonna be fine. Plus, when things are pressed up against it, you can see them pretty clearly. So I'm not super worried about that, but I am glad that I read the instructions because it looks like they just melted down crayons and put them in there with a wick and it burned. But upon further investigation, i.e. actually reading the page, I found that they did melt down some of the wax from like a candle making kit or similar and mix the crayon in just for color, which is great because if you guys saw my testing out this kit video, you know that I really struggled with the color blocks. Like I wasn't super in love with them, so if I could use a crayon instead, that would be pretty cool. So that is what we are trying out today. I'm leaving it completely non-scented, which means that it might just smell like crayon. It's not a bad smell. It's a very nostalgic childhood smell, so we'll see how much that comes through in the end as well as the colors. So yeah, I'm gonna open this up and we will get started. So the colors that I have chosen for my candle today are black, gray, and turquoise blue. So I'm hoping these make just a lovely combination together. You also have the white of the wax. In the post that I read, they just used one crayon per color block and it looked like a really strong color pigment, so that's all I'm gonna use. Slash that's all I have in each color, so that's what we're doing. And then I will be mixing it with the wax to do it. They say open the crayons with an X-Acto knife. I have one somewhere, I just don't know where I put it. So I'm gonna be using scissors and just kinda slice down like this. I also remember it being super easy to get the wrappers off crayons growing up. But now that I'm an adult and trying to do it, I bet it's a lot more difficult. Yeah, that didn't work at all. So we're just gonna peel the wrappers off just like normal, so you're left with the wax. And I won't make you watch that. I will come back when I have that, and then we will heat this up and we will get going. On the actual like post I read, they did like a color blocking thing. I kind of want to try like a cool swirly or like effect with the wax to make it look like visually really interesting. But since this is more of like a test of how it actually works out, I want to keep it as close to the instructions as I can rather than fiddling around with it, because then if it doesn't work, I don't know if it's because it doesn't work or if it's because I fiddled around with it and did something wrong. So we're gonna just make the little color blocking that they did. It looked pretty cool, so that is what we'll do once I get my crayons all naked. So we're gonna start this just as normal. The kit comes with a kind of harder, stickier wax. So I've pulled out a little bit of that and I'm going to stick it to the bottom center of my votive candle. So I'm just gonna use my finger to do that, kind of get it placed on there, and just as like kind of center as you can, just like that. Then take your wick with the little metal thing that it comes on and just stick it on top of that. You can kind of do it through the bottom, kind of take a look at what you're doing. But yeah, just try to center it as much as possible like that. And once it's centered, just kind of push it down as much as possible. This is just so that your wick doesn't go sliding all over the place when you have hot wax in there, and you can hopefully kind of get it somewhat centered so that the candle will burn correctly once everything's set in there, done and dried. This would be a lot easier if I didn't have longer, medium length fingernails, because they are like definitely touching before my fingers are, and it's really difficult to press down on there because I don't want to break them. But here we go, perfectly centered. Next up, I'm going to take the wax. I believe in this kit it's soy wax. You can get probably all sorts of different waxes, beeswax, whatever you want. I'm going to be pouring some into a microwave safe bowl. There we go. I think that's a good amount. Just pour some in. And next up, I will be putting my crayon in there. I think I want the bottom layer to be black. So here's my naked black crayon. I'm just gonna break it, just like that, and put it on top like that, and pop it into the microwave until it is liquidy, and then we will start pouring our candle. So in the post that I read, the little blog thing, they propped up their candle with a tea light candle just to get the same kind of angle each time. So for the sake of authenticity, that's what I'm gonna do. Another 30 seconds and I think we're good. Everything's melted and even the crayon itself is starting to melt. Let's take this out and yeah, no, I think that works. Just going to stir it up a little bit. Oh, this is crazy looking. Crayon's not entirely melted though. You can see that, but it's almost there. I'm gonna keep stirring it and see if I can get it to melt that way. If not, we'll pop it back in the microwave. Okay, I think that did it. So microwaved it for 2 minutes. We have a very intense color, so the one crayon was definitely correct. And we will go pour this into our votive. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this without spilling. I'm gonna try really, really, really hard to do this without spilling. I'm gonna put down a paper towel. We're back to do this in a much smarter setup. I have my paper towel down to protect my chair. Yes, I set it up on a chair instead of the table with the wall in the background. I don't know why, it seemed like a good idea at the time, but if you're wondering what this is and why it drops off here, it's not a table. But my candle is propped up on my little tea light. I've got the super liquidy mixed up black wax here and my protective little coating of paper towel right there. So we're gonna try to pour this in. Oh, look at that. I did it. First try. Awesome. Okay, cool. That actually worked way better than I thought it would. And I didn't drip because I had a paper towel, and you know I would have dripped had I not. So that actually turned out pretty cool. I'm gonna move the wick over. In the blog thing, they just kind of moved the wick. They didn't like tie it up, which I guess makes sense because you put it at an angle. Seemed weird at the time, but now that I'm pouring it, it actually does make sense. So let me grab the camera. I'm gonna come around there so you can kind of see what I mean about it just kind of goes to the center anyway without too much hassle, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I think I like accidentally poured up the side too much, so it's not a perfect kind of diagonal slice the way theirs was, but they're professionals and I'm trying it out for the first time, so I'm gonna give me that one. And now we wait, let this dry for 20 to 30 minutes it says before we attempt our next color. Okay, time for our second batch of wax. I'm gonna pour some into the bowl. Should be good. Take my gray, because that's going to be the next color, and just kind of break it in there. Just like that. And we will microwave that for 2 minutes. All right, 2 minutes seems to be the magic number. My wax is basically melted and my crayons are pretty well melted. I think as I mix this up, they're just going to dissolve quite nicely. We mix this up until we get a lovely consistent gray and then pour it into our candle. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes. This is what the black wax kind of looks like. Turn it over and looks pretty solid, so I should be able to pour the gray into there. So I have the gray here. And I'm going to aim it towards the camera this time. I'm gonna be smart, turn it over so the angle of the black is now uphill. Let's see if I can balance that, sort of, kind of, a little bit. Pull my wax out to center. It looks like the black wax is still a little bit soft, but I'm gonna give it a try. It said 20 to 30 minutes. That's what's elapsed, so that's what we're gonna do. You check out these awesome pouring skills. Dude, I'm killing this. All right, how do we get this one to stay up? Stayed up quite nicely with the black. It's not staying up quite so nicely with the gray, but I'll figure something out for that. All right, theoretically, the last batch, this is blue. Okay, so last batch here, we're just gonna turn it around again. Take a look at the diagonals. Actually, other than that little mountain of where I poured the black, it's pretty cool. Messed up the gray there a little bit. I probably could chip that off with my nail now that I'm looking at it. Just look a little bit better. Just leave that there. Yeah, definitely better. That's already intersecting the gray, so I think I'm gonna leave it with the blue and just call it a feature rather than an error. And yeah, I'm gonna turn this like that. Prop it up on our tea light. Pull that out, and here we go. Ooh, that's not gonna work. Okay, this last one might just be flat. Feel like in the instructions, they definitely poured that one diagonal and then poured one on top, but I also didn't measure my wax going in, and that just might need to be what happens. That looks pretty cool, actually. I think I did a good job with the colors, at least. Okay, now we're gonna take our dowel and just kind of try to balance our wick as center as possible on here. All right, guys, so I changed shirts because it's a different day, but my candle's fully dry. I wanted to trim the wick and light it and see if it smells like a crayon. Right now, not really. Crayons have a very particular, I think, rather specific scent to them. It's not a bad scent, it's just kind of a nostalgic childhood scent. And I was worried that this candle would be crayon scented. It's not really, much less than I was thinking, but that doesn't mean it won't smell like it when it burns. So I'm going to trim the wick just to about there. That's actually probably a little long, but we're gonna give it a try. Light it up, and we'll just let it burn down for a second to see, you can see all the black wax burning off. Oh yeah, my wick was way too big, so you're supposed to do 1/4 of an inch. Mine's probably closer to 1/2 inch, but that's okay. I'm just gonna hold it while it burns down. And this is interesting. It's really just burning near the candle, and it couldn't care less about the top of the wick that was too long, which is quickly turning to ashes, and there we go, falling off. So not even a big deal after all. I know this wick is one that works because I got it from my candle making set that I've used multiple times. I also use the soy wax pellets from the candle making set to mix with the crayon. I know those work. I've used this kit a few times and I know how to make candles, so yeah, theoretically it should work. I've heard that crayons burn and you can use them as emergency candles. It's one thing I've always wanted to try out, is like burning a crayon without a wick, just to see what happens. But I gotta say, like, look how shrimpy this little flame is. This isn't doing so well. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but I'm gonna hold it and kind of watch it a little bit longer, I think, and see what's going on with that. Like maybe it's just the different wax in there that is, you know, not going up the wick and burning, or maybe it's gonna find its footing here in a second. Not 100% sure, but we can see what it smells like, I guess. Nothing. It smells like nothing. Completely unscented candle, which is interesting because the crayons should lend it a small amount of scent. We didn't put any fragrance in here because we were just following the instruction of the tutorial that I found online, and it didn't say anything about fragrance, but it did turn out to make some pretty cool color blocking. You guys can see I did use the frosted glass, so it's not 100% ideal for viewing, but whatever, it works. So here, right here is kind of the money shot there as far as the different levels poured. Pouring it and stacking it on top of the tea light did create the perfect angle with which to pour. The only issue being that I way over poured the black up here, but that's okay. The only thing I will say is that this thing does not want to burn. And I'm not 100% sure why, but the flame is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you use a candle making kit, like this wick should burn, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. but it looks like it's just gonna burn itself out here in a second. So yeah, the original wick, the wax melted off and it burned and turned to ashes and broke off pretty quickly. I think for most candles anyway, I think that's kind of the point of the wax, is that it keeps the wick from burning too quickly. And maybe having the crayon in there, just, you know, it can't go up the wick and keep it burning, I'm not sure. But we are basically out of flame right now, like little tiny bit. You see that? Like the smallest amount. I think it's gonna burn itself out. I don't think it's gonna work as a candle, not long term. So, and by long term I mean more than like 5 minutes. Now that the wax is kind of melting, we'll see if it brings that flame back to life. But so far, I'd say this is almost a craft fail. Like, it did make a cute candle, but the candle isn't working. So, there we go, there we go. Flame is dying. I almost want to try this again, because this would be a cool, like, way to color candles and give them as gifts, but if it just makes the candle not work, that's a really bad gift. Like, imagine getting a candle that doesn't burn as a gift. I don't know, I don't like that. If you guys have made this craft and it's worked for you, let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested to hear, because I've never seen a candle do this. Not one that I've like not fully experimented on, like one that I've made with a legit wick from the kit with like legit wax in there. Like, it should work. There's no reason why it shouldn't work. This is basically gone. Like, that's basically gone. It's just smoldering at this point. So yeah, interesting. I don't know. I wouldn't call that a win for the candle, but it was interesting to make, and it was interesting to get the colors. So maybe next time I'll just like do normal wax up at the top for like ½ an inch or something, do the colors down beneath, and see if that changes how it burns and if it burns better. But yeah, thanks so much for trying this out with me, and I'll see you guys here again soon. Bye for now.